That's a good question. Flip Wilson or Arsenio Hall, who had more variety on their show? That's a real good question. Flip Wilson had the alter ego Geraldine he dressed in drag, which was a precursor to Tyler Perry's Medea. And, but people didn't trip per se quite the same like they do now with that, and however you interpret that. But Flip did have respect. He was a comedy giant, and he had a who's who on the show. He had Red Fox who support him, Richard Pryor. A lot of who's who was supportive because he was a very influential talent. Um, used to used to watch reruns of the show. The show predated me for a big part because you know what was going on, but I did catch the old highlights of it, and I did watch him. Remember Uptown Saturday Night, the different things that he did. He uh, he had a distinctive way about him. But they have definitely tried to write him out the history books of his impact on comedy, and I just don't know how you do because obviously you'll hear people talk about Bill Cosby, Red Fox, Richard Pryor from back in that time period. Yeah, maybe even maybe a slight nod to Rudy Ray Moore for those who know him, but Flip Wilson, who was big, even Time Magazine called him the first black superstar. He doesn't. And of course, I could mention Dick Gregory, and others. But Flip Wilson, then mysteriously just kind of just doesn't get his due. But he was the dude that, as far as a black man on network TV, the link between Nat King Cole and Arsenio Hall, and all due respect to Don Cornelius, but hosting a show like he did, he really was doing things in a real way. He had quite, you know, and it was interesting how that all played out. So just taking up that part. Now, as far as Arsenio Hall, watched him in the 80s. Obviously, when he took over that show from Joan Rivers and he had the Arsenio Hall show, which ran to 1994. Of course, a lot of people got upset when he had Minister Farrakhan on the show, and that was kind of laid him off. And then he came back, um, I want to say the late 10s, but it wasn't the same the second time around. But the first time, he was like must see. He was definitely cutting edge. He definitely had a lot of people that were really into what he was doing and what he was about. So um, says a lot about that. But asked the question was asked, who do I think had more cultural impact? Well, when I was coming along watching Arsenio Hall because the names and everything he did. But when you go back in totality and you really watching everything unfold, you gotta see Flip Wilson. Ask me who I think was funny of the two. I'd say Flip. I liked Arsenio. I think Arsenio had a real pleasant personality, but I think that he was so tied into what Eddie Murphy did. Arsenio is one of those guys. He's what I call a good assist man. He's kind of like I'd say Arsenio is kind of like the Scottie Pippen of the comedies. Like you want him as a sidekick, but he ain't gonna never quite take the dude all the way that he's riding with. But between like I'd say like that about Arsenio. It's kind of like that what I say about Paul Mooney, even though Paul Mooney to me was funnier. But Arsenio definitely fit a niche for a certain demographic and a time when he was hip for what he did. And I did. But I think for Wilson, when you watch the variety, the the way the show kind of worked, I think that he kind of had the edge. I think it had a bit. I think it had a little bit more because he had a lot of character within character. Cause the Geraldine character was big. Chunky A was only for that time period, but just saying. But I think Flip did a little bit more with the variety. So just looking at it, but they both were important. So I don't get into not downplaying one without the other. But Flip Wilson never gets his due. Arsenio kind of is underrated too now when you think about it now, because they don't really, you know, just saying. But anyway, let me know what you think. Flip Wilson versus Arsenio Hall. Whose show was more impactful? Who had more intake? Who did you ride with? All things being equal, please hit like, subscribe, work on thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share if you like and hit that membership because when you do requests like this come true, stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke. Free. I'm out.